All right, guys. Good evening. So, let me share my screen. I hope you guys have all got your access to Google Classroom. If not, please get it as soon as possible. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes for the rest of them to join, and then we will start today's session. Yes, manual testing will be there for every retest. All right. Let's start. I believe we have everyone in the session. So we have completed our some of the functional and non-functional testing types yesterday, and we will also look into agile methodology today. We'll look into agile methodology today. So, everyone, can you quickly summarize the incremental iterative model. So those who were present in the previous session when incremental iterative model was discussed, your incremental iterative model, when it was discussed, can you guys please summarize it in short? I mean, whatever your understanding is, your incremental iterative model. If you don't remember it, let me show you the picture here. This is what is your incremental iterative model is. And if you guys can quickly summarize what your incremental iterative model is and what you understood in your incremental iterative model, that would be really helpful. Update the application. Very good. Try explaining the same thing to your interviewer and let me know what his feedback is. As I already said yesterday, you should be in a position to answer it the way your interviewer will be asking you and the way you'll be answering your interviewer. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Cool. Cool. Sure, some answers are good, some answers are not. But uh-huh. All right, cool. So to summarize your incremental iterative model in short, you have two words, increment and iteration. Increment is nothing but you add, iteration is nothing but you repeat. What are you adding and what are you repeating? Nothing but your SDLC, your entire software development life cycle, right from requirement gathering till your delivery, you will be repeating this entire process again and again and again. Why? Because in each cycle, in each iteration, your iteration is nothing but right from your requirement gathering till your delivery. That is what is your one iteration is. So this entire process, every time you'll be collecting your requirements, every time you'll be analyzing, designing, developing, testing, and you'll be releasing it every time. So why? Because you'll not be developing the entire application at once. Okay, you'll not be developing the entire application at once. You will be developing the application in phases. Every time the application will be developed in partial, in phases. Okay, the application, you can never really say that the application is fully developed, but in whichever phase you take the application, let's say after phase 1 or after phase 2 or after phase 6, or let's say after 5 iterations or after 10 iterations. Okay, if you look at the application will still be functioning at any point in your life cycle, at any point in your incremental iterative model. After the end of any iteration, the application is usable, is ready to use, it can be released. So it's not that like your waterfall model where the entire application should be ready, only then you are going to deploy the application or release the application. That's not the case with your incremental iterative model. After the end of each iteration, how much ever the application is ready, you will be planning the requirements well in advance for that iteration. All those requirements will be satisfied, they will be developed, they will be tested, and you'll be releasing the application. So you'll be releasing the application. So the application is ready for use. When you say the application is ready for release, or when you release the application, it means that the application can be used, maybe by the end user or maybe by the client also. It can be by anything. Whoever is the intended audience, they can use the application, not a problem. But the ultimate thing is, at any point, at any iteration, at the end of any iteration in your incremental iterative model, iteration is nothing but requirements gathering till delivery at any point in your, at the end of any iteration in your incremental iterative model, the application is ready for use. The application will be released, will be deployed. So why? Because the application is not fully developed. The client might come up with new requirements. You're not going to say no to the client's new requirements. You're always going to update the application with the new requirements that you get from the client, and not just the new requirements. Sometimes even after release, you might be getting some feedback. You might be getting some bugs. You might realize that there is a need to develop some more functionalities in the application. You never know. So in those cases also, you may have to again start a new iteration. You may have to gather the requirements. You may have to again start the development work. But again, in this phase, in the next iteration, you will not be working entirely from scratch. You already have released the application in the previous iteration. So you will be using that previously released application, and then you will be working on the new features on that application. You will not be starting from zero. You will not be starting from scratch. Okay, which with each iteration, with each phase, you have an application getting matured. By the end of a few iterations, the application will be a lot more matured than what you have released in the initial stages. Let's take an example of Candy Crush. Okay, Candy Crush, when it was initially released, there were only a few levels in the Candy Crush application. After successive updates, you had more and more stages. You know the levels, stages, right? 1 to 100 level, 50th level, 45th level. These levels or stages in your Candy Crush game. So some of the games are designed in such a way that in a certain update, you will be able, in a certain build, in a certain update, you will be only able to play till a certain level. After that level, you may have to wait for an update. You may have to wait for a new release. So the new update will be coming via Google Play Store for you if you are an Android user, and you install the update, and then you can start using the application for the next levels. So does that mean, did you stop playing Candy Crush? Was Candy Crush not accessible for you on Play Store? No, Candy Crush was accessible, but it was accessible till only those levels for which it was released. It was released for first 1 to 100 levels only. So the application, in the application also, you'll be only able to use only 1 to 100 levels only. That's it. In the next release, when they plan the next 100 levels, if you update the application after the release, you automatically get a notification from Google Play Store saying that 5 updates are pending, 4 updates are pending. So if you update your application, automatically the application will be updated and your new levels will be unlocked automatically without disturbing the existing application. Does that mean if you're updating, are you getting a new application? No, you're just updating the existing application without disturbing any functionality in it. You're updating the application. So think of your incremental iterative model also the same way. Okay, your incremental iterative model is also same thing. Next, in your agile methodology, your agile methodology is also an adaptation of your incremental iterative process only. Your agile methodology is also an adaptation from your incremental iterative methodology only, incremental iterative model only. It also has the same phases: requirement, design, coding, testing, deployment, all of this stuff. You'll have the entire same thing, no problem. But as you already know, what is the output of each iteration? I mean, what do you think is the output of each iteration? What will you get at the end of each iteration? Exactly, your application, your product. You also call it as a build. So similarly, even in your agile methodology also, you have builds at the end of each iteration. Okay, the very purpose of agile methodology is to divide or break your entire product into multiple small builds, incremental builds. So each time in the first build, you must have delivered some, let's say 20 functionalities. In the second build, you will add 15 more functionalities. So by the end of your second build, or by the end of your second iteration, you'll have 20 plus 15, 35 iterations, 35 features in your application. So small incremental builds, your entire SDLC or your entire project lifecycle is divided into small incremental builds. At the end of each iteration, your build will be delivered and deployed, nothing but your application. So why do we have to use Agile? Just like, as I already said, it's an adaptation of your increment iterative model. What flexibility do you have in your increment iterative model? Or let's call it as advantages. What flexibility or advantages do you have in your increment iterative model? Can you guys quickly summarize it? I mean, whatever that you know. Okay. Easy accommodation of requirement change. Exactly. Updates every time. Easy to adapt. Okay. Exactly. The most important concept of your incremental iterative model is you have a flexibility to add more and more requirements each time without stopping the existing process. Without stopping the existing process, you can add more and more and more and more changes, more and more requirements, more and more features in the application without disturbing anything. If you are not able to accommodate any new requirements, let's say you wanted some particular screen, you wanted some UI change, you wanted some different color in the UI. It was not possible to accommodate in this release. Maybe you can accommodate in the next release. You can accommodate it in the next release. Okay. So there is this flexibility. Whatever requirements, if it was not satisfied this time, no problem. You can still satisfy it in the next release along with the feedback that you get for the current release. So that is the most important, what you call, that is the most important functionality or feature of your incremental iterative model, to be honest. That gives more flexibility to you. And one more thing is you can plan your requirements. Let's say you are planning for initial release. You're planning for the first time release of your application. So imagine, PUBG, the developers of PUBG, they are planning to release PUBG to the market. So they have given lots of advertisement, lots of hype in the market. So when they have given that much of hype, when they release the application should be attracting lots of users, to be honest. If you are releasing an application of that much of hype, you must be able to attract more and more users on your application. More and more users should be able to use your application. They should download. You should see lots of downloads. A lot of people should be giving good reviews. This is what your expectation is. So you have given that much of hype in the market about your PUBG game or your application. So what should you do if you have given that much of hype? The initial thing that you must do is you should plan your release properly. So how? What do I mean by planning my release? So when you release your application for the first time, first impressions are the best impressions. What do I mean by that? So when you release the application, all the most attractive features in the application, let's say multiplayer option, or let's say online player option, or let's say, chat rooms in the game. When you are playing PUBG, you can chat with the other players also. Not just chat, you can voice, you can even listen to someone else's voice also. My voice is not audible. Is my voice audible for everyone? Maybe Lakshmi, there is an issue with your internet, I believe, because everyone's able to hear me. Okay. So when you're planning for the initial release, you must release the application in such a way that it gathers the attention of the users very easily. It gathers the attention of the users very easily. So when you are planning for the initial release, you put most attractive features in the application first in your first release. You put most of your attractive features in the application when you're planning for the first release. So that is one flexibility you have in your incremental iterative model. So whatever features that you want in your application, you can choose them for each release. Okay, in this release, I'm going to implement multiplayer option. In this release, I'm going to implement voice chat option in my application. In this release, I am planning for online multiplayer option. In the next release, I am planning for a team player option. You can plan your features, whatever features that you want to release, and you can release those features accordingly as per your requirement. That is the most important flexibility that you have in your incremental iterative model. The same thing goes with your agile methodology also. Agile methodology, to be honest, is nothing but your incremental iterative model only. But you just need to understand the terminology of agile methodology. That's it. That's the only difference between your incremental iterative model and agile. Okay, you call it as iteration here, you call it as sprint here. Nothing much. In incremental iterative model, you call it as iteration or phase. In your agile, you call it as a sprint. That's the only difference. That's it. There is not much difference between your incremental iterative model and agile model. Okay, so agile model, just like your incremental model, also the very motto or the very important point in your agile methodology is every project needs own attention. Every project, all projects cannot be done the same way, in the same similar fashion. Maybe some projects are different kind of attention. Maybe some projects, the requirements will keep on changing very frequently. So we must not be rigid and we must not be denying the client's requirements. The client's satisfaction is more important. So agile methodology will try to accommodate every single client requirement. So it's like tailor-made for every project. Every project is specific, so every project needs to be handled differently. This is what agile methodology believes in. So the same process happens right from your planning, requirement gathering, development, testing, release. All the same things happen again and again and again. But the important thing is, here in your agile methodology is of multiple. There are multiple methodologies in agile also. Your Scrum, Kanban, extreme programming, you have multiple types in agile methodology also. The one we are going to learn and also implement through Jira is your Scrum. We will implement Scrum in Jira. When you learn Jira from your laptops, we will be learning Scrum Jira. I mean, based on Scrum Agile project in Jira. Okay. So Scrum is nothing but it's a type of agile methodology. So it's also a framework to implement all your agile methodology principles. So in this Scrum, you call each iteration as a sprint. In Scrum, each iteration is called as a sprint. What is an iteration? What do you understand by an iteration? What do you understand by an iteration? Iteration, repetition, I understand that, but I'm asking it in terms of software testing or in terms of SDLC. What is an iteration? Okay. Exactly. Requirement gathering till delivery is nothing but your iteration. I mean, iteration, repetition is correct. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying iteration does not mean repetition, but I was asking you in terms of your software development lifecycle. In terms of software development lifecycle, iteration is nothing but your entire process right from your requirement gathering till your delivery. Okay. So your iteration is nothing but it's called as a sprint in your Scrum Agile. All right. In your Scrum Agile, your iteration is called as sprint. So usually on an average or very commonly, your sprint, the duration of your sprint. Okay. Sprint is nothing but the time duration to complete your work, whatever work that has been assigned for that iteration. Each iteration you have some targets, right? I need to complete all these modules in each iteration. So similarly, an iteration is nothing but a sprint is nothing but an iteration only. But a sprint has got some time duration here. In Agile, every sprint has some time duration. That is what is a sprint is. Sprint is nothing but the time or the duration that is required to complete your work. A very common sprint lasts for 2 weeks. A common, very commonly, very widely, a typical sprint lasts for 2 weeks. So out of 2 weeks, how many working days will you have? Let's say you have 2 weeks. On an average, how many working days will you have in a sprint? Exactly. If your sprint duration is 2 weeks, your number of working days will be somewhere around 10 days. Because you leave your Saturdays and Sundays. Obviously, 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays are gone. Out of 2 weeks, if you remove 4 days, you have 10 working days. So let me explain you. Sprint is time duration. What? To complete your work, whatever work that is assigned to you for that particular sprint. Each sprint you will be assigned some work. To complete that work, you need some time or some duration that is called as your sprint. So how much time does a sprint last? Most commonly it's 2 weeks, but this is not a rule. This is not a rule that every sprint should be only 2 weeks. No, I'm not saying that this is a rule. This is a common practice. You might have 4-week sprints, 6-week sprints, sometimes even 3-month sprints also will be there. You never know. It's project specific. You cannot say anything. All right. So this is your, let's say 2 weeks is the sprint duration for you. And out of 2 weeks, you have working days. Does anyone have any idea what is the number of hours that you need to work each day in a corporate setting, in a corporate environment? What is the number of hours that you should work each day? At least 8 hours. At least 8 productive hours. At least 8 productive hours you should be spending every day. So for the entire sprint, how many hours do you think you should spend then? Every day, 8 hours. So for the entire sprint, if the sprint is for 2 weeks, how many hours do you think you have for a sprint? For one sprint, how many hours will you have? Exactly. You will have 80 hours in each sprint. Assuming that your sprint is for 2 weeks. If your sprint is for more, if it is for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, this will differ. I'm not saying this is the only way. This is the most common way. We have 80 hours. So for this 80 hours, you will be given some work. You will be given some task. You'll be given some task. Nothing but it is called as backlog. I understand everyone remembers what backlog is. Everyone understands what backlog is. Your backlog subjects. Maybe you all remember it like that. But for those who are not familiar with the backlog term in Agile, who are new to this, backlog is nothing but the task that you are going to do in a particular sprint. It is called as a backlog or a backlog item. Backlog or backlog item is your task that you do every sprint. Okay. So for these 80 hours, you will be given some backlog items. Okay, you might be given some 4 backlog items. So for those 80 hours, you should work only on those 4 tasks. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. 4 pakka, you should complete all those 4 each sprint. So again, coming back to your Agile or your Scrum Agile. Okay, you have some characters in your Scrum Agile. Ramu, ఇక్కడ రాసిన కదా కనబడలేదా మీకు? Are you not able to see this? Is my screen visible to everyone? Okay. So You have a few characters, people in your Scrum Agile and Scrum Agile project setting. So first one is your Scrum Master. Next is your product or project owner, or let's say project manager, product owner or project manager, anyone. Next, your Scrum team, your entire Scrum team, all right. So who are these people? What do they do? What is their responsibility? What are their roles? First is your Scrum Master, or let's just first start with your product owner or your project manager, your PM. This person, most of the times, he will be from the client side only. Most of the times, he'll be from the client side. But again, this is not a rule. This is a general understanding. You might have PMs from both client as well as the software company side also sometimes. So it differs. It's not a rule. It's a general practice. Okay. So those who already know these details, stop bombarding the chat box. Those who already know it, stop bombarding the chat box. Relax, relax. Hold on, hold on. You have a lot of things which you don't know. So I would like your patience, your attention also during those times. All right. I would also like your active participation, your enthusiasm, your responses, even in those times also. So keep that enthusiasm with you. I'll need it when I'll need it in the upcoming sessions. Hold on, relax. Don't strain yourself. Don't strain yourself. If you already know this, hold on, relax. Try to relate it to your real-time environment. Okay, it may be correct, it may not be correct, because it is not a rule that everyone should follow the same thing. As I already explained, Agile handles each project in a very different fashion. Okay, these are not like your rules, these are like your guidelines. Good to follow. All right. So first one is your product owner or your project manager. Product owner or your project manager. What does he do? What does he do? He is from the client side most of the times. He is the one who has an understanding about the entire functionality of the product or the application. So he gives the requirements most of the times. He knows what he wants from you. He is the person who will be guiding the entire project. Okay. What backlog items should we develop? How should we plan the next sprint? What is the life cycle of our entire project? Okay. When should we plan our releases? Basically everything about the functionality as well as the life cycle of your entire project. This particular person will be managing it. Your project manager or your product owner. These are, these are used sometimes similarly. I mean, one person might be doing both project manager and product owner work also. Product owner, project manager, these days, it has become the same thing. So this person knows everything about the product. Even before the application is developed, he knows what requirements he wants in the application. He has a full understanding of the requirements of the client. He will be able to better help you with the requirements. If you have any what do you call, any updates regarding the requirements or any clarity about the requirements, this person will be able to help you out. He is the person who is guiding the entire project life cycle for us. So this person will be responsible for giving us the backlog items. So what is a backlog? What is a backlog, everyone? Now you guys can type. What is a backlog? The tasks that need to be performed, the tasks that we have to work each time. Okay, the tasks that we need to work in each sprint. The task that we need to work on in each sprint, that is called as your backlog item. Okay, your product owner, your product manager will have to create the backlog items for the entire team. This person will be creating the backlog items for the entire team, not just for one or two people, not just for a development, not just for a testing, for the entire development as well as testing teams. This person this person will be creating the backlog items, or this person will be involved in creating the backlog items. As I already said, this person knows the functionality very well. He knows the functionality of the application very well. He manages the entire life cycle of the project. So this person is most important when it comes to your Scrum Agile methodology. So this person will set all the backlog items in place. So what is the role and duty of the Scrum Master then? The Scrum Master is going to coordinate or facilitate all the interaction between the client side as well as the software company, or let's say your product owner, your project manager, and the Scrum team. So all the interactions between the client and the development team, or the client and the testing team, everything will be facilitated by your Scrum Master. He manages the entire schedule of the project. Just like how your product owner gives you the backlog items, this person will have to facilitate the total hours that are needed to complete this project, maintaining the entire schedule, the releases, and all of those details. This Scrum Master will be handling all of that. Of course, it's not necessary that your Scrum Master should have technical knowledge. Okay, the Scrum Master might not have the testing knowledge. Your Scrum Master might not be having your development knowledge. It's not mandatory. It's not even mandatory to have the functional knowledge also. You will see a lot of Scrum Masters who do not have the knowledge like a BA. A BA is different, a Scrum Master is different. BA is someone who has that knack to deal with the clients. They are good at gathering the requirements from the client. So whatever the developers create, that is based on the BA's inputs only. So if the BA does not take the requirements correctly, if he's not able to project the client's requirements correctly to the development team, maybe the developers may not be able to develop it as per the client's satisfaction. So the BAs are good at gathering and capturing the requirements from the client and putting forward to the developers. The BAs might have an understanding of the functionality of the application. Yes, but maybe not necessary that even they should have the technical knowledge. Your Java, TestNG, Selenium, they may or may not have. That is not their job description. Scrum Master, he might not even have the knowledge of the functionality of the application also. The only thing is involved in is managing the schedules of the entire project, facilitating the interaction between the client and the software company, managing your entire sprint. Okay, allocating tasks for each and every person in the Scrum team. This is what your Scrum Master does. Okay, then what is your Scrum team? Scrum team is nothing but your entire testing team or your entire development team. It is called as a Scrum team. Okay, this is your Scrum team. What all new terms did we learn today? Can you quickly type all the new terms that we have learned today? Okay, you have learned about Agile, you have learned about Scrum, you have learned about Sprint, Scrum Master, Backlog, Scrum Team. Exactly, exactly. Good, good that you have retained most of it. Next is your next terminology that you need to remember. Next terminology that you need to remember is your the next thing that you have in your Scrum Agile methodology is nothing but your sprint planning. Sprint planning is done by your project manager, your product owner, this character, and this Scrum Master, this character. These two people will be involved in sprint planning. What do you think happens in sprint planning? The very name it suggests. What do you think sprint planning? What do you think happens in sprint planning? Okay. Okay. Exactly. Basically, how to how to work and what to work in your entire sprint. The sprint may be only for 2 weeks, but in these 2 weeks, you should get a lot of tasks completed so that you stay on track with the delivery and the schedule of your application of your product. Okay, so in sprint planning, I'll give you a simple example for sprint planning. You should be able to understand this very easily. Okay, let's say sprint has started. Let's say your sprint has started on June 2023. This is a 2-week sprint. When will your sprint? When will your sprint end? This is a 2-week sprint. When do you think your sprint is going to end? 14th June, your sprint will end. Sprint 1 ends at 14th June. When do you think the next sprint will start? What is the start date of next sprint? Immediately the next day, your second sprint will start. Okay, this is also again for 2 weeks only. When will this end? When will this end? This will end on 28th June 2023. Okay, 28th June 2023. Okay, fine. Imagine you are in the middle of first sprint. The first sprint, there was not much planning. You have started the first sprint. You are getting some random backlog items and you are working on them, because since this is the first sprint, maybe the sprint planning was not done properly. So you are in the middle of the sprint. Assume a scenario like this. Let's say somewhere around 7th June. 7th June is exactly the middle of your sprint. Okay. Just when you are about in the middle of the sprint, your manager, your project lead, they will be getting a mail from whom? From your product owner or your project manager. They'll be getting a mail saying that so we have created a set of imagine your Scrum team. The Scrum team has 5 members. So let's say Scrum team for a testing. Okay, Scrum team for a testing, not for a development. For Scrum team also, testing also, you'll have a Scrum team. The Scrum teams, sometimes it might be different for both development and testing also. Okay, not mandatory, but that you should have both developers and testers in the same Scrum team sometimes. You may or may not have it. Okay, so imagine you had something like that, and you have somewhere around 5 people. You have 5 people in your Scrum team. Okay, that is your testing team. Manual plus automation, you have 5 people. So 7th June, your manager will be getting a mail. Your manager as well as your project lead, they will be getting a mail saying what? Saying that, hello. So we have started planning for the next sprint. The next sprint will be starting on 15th June. So we have started planning for the next sprint, which is starting on 15th June. So we have created some list of backlog items for your Scrum team. Okay. So the backlog items we have listed, we have created backlog items for your Scrum team. So we have 5 people. Let's say there are 25 items, 25 backlog items. We have created 25 backlog items or 25 tasks for your Scrum team, which has 5 people. So review these backlog items. These backlog items are created on Jira. You can use Jira for project management as well as bug tracking also. Not just only for bug tracking, you can use it for project management also. So we have created these backlog items, 25 backlog items for the upcoming second sprint, which is starting on 15th June. Review those backlog items. Let me know if you want to add any more items or if you want me to remove any of these items. Okay, so this is what your manager and your lead will be getting a mail from your product owner and your Scrum master. So your manager has to review the backlog items. If he feels good, he'll have to give an approval or let's say a thumbs up saying that okay, and we are okay with these backlog items. Because what if your team does not have the functional knowledge to test the application? What if you don't have the knowledge of the working of the application? You may not be able to do 25 items, 25 backlog items. It may be too overwhelming for you. Maybe you are overworking, or maybe if the backlog items are very simple, you can even say, so these are very simple. You can add a few more backlog items. You can even say something like that. So your manager has to take a look at those backlog items first. He'll be taking a look at the backlog items. He'll give a sort of a feedback or, sort of a thumbs up saying that, I am okay with these requirements or I'm okay with these backlog items. If he wants to add anything more, he might suggest saying that, I want to add these backlog items in our current upcoming sprint, that is on 15th June. So if you can, please add these backlog items also. Or if he does not have anything to add, he'll simply say, we are okay. That's it. And your Scrum Master and your product owner will start the planning. Why? Because these 25 backlog items will have to be split among these 5 people. It does not mean that 5 into 5. So each person will be getting only 5 backlog items. No. One person might be getting only one task for the entire 80 hours. That might be a very complex task. Or one person might be getting 10 items. All of the items are very easy. Just 2-3 hours every day. That's it. Does not mean that you have 5 people and 25 backlog items. It will be divided equally. No. What is the responsibility of your product owner and your Scrum Master is based on the experience, based on the skill set of these 5 people. These 25 backlog items will be divided among them. If you have slightly more experienced people, they'll be getting slightly more complicated, complex tasks. If you have freshers in the freshers or new joiners in your team, in your Scrum team, maybe they'll be getting easy, small tasks in the initial sprints. So that is how your Scrum Master and your product owner will have to plan for the upcoming sprint. By sitting in the first sprint, they will plan for the second sprint. Your sprint planning should always be done in advance. You should not sit in the second sprint on the first day of second sprint. The first day of your second sprint is 15th June. You should not sit in a meeting on 15th June and decide the tasks that you are going to do in second sprint. No, you should plan for the sprint well in advance. So that is why your Scrum Master and product owner will have to sit through and create a schedule, create backlog items, and assign these backlog items accordingly for all these people. And on 14th June, when the sprint ends, on 15th June, when your new sprint starts, you have a sprint planning session. Every first day of the sprint, the first day of every sprint start will be a sprint planning session where everyone will be given their tasks. It's like, okay, so and so X person, you are given these all backlog items. You can start working on them. Khatam. Next person Y, you will be given these 3 backlog items. So 5 backlog items, 80 hours. So roughly they'll be, it's not even mandatory that you have got 5 tasks and 80 hours in a sprint. So 80 by 5 is 16. Each task I will have to work for 16 hours mandatorily. No, that's not like that. Whatever you want to do it, but you have to complete those 5 tasks in 80 hours. That is your one sprint. That is your responsibility. No one is going to ask, okay, I'm going to give you 80 hours and 5 tasks. So each task you should work only for 16 hours. No, the hours can change here and there also. No problem. You'll have to utilize your 80 hours in the best possible manner to complete those 5 tasks. You spend 70 hours on one task and 10 hours on 4 tasks. No problem. Do it. Just update your Scrum team saying that I'm doing this way. No problem. You can do it. But the ultimate goal is to complete all those 5 tasks, 5 backlog items in that particular sprint. That should be your motto. So on the first day of your sprint, that is 15th June, your sprint planning session will happen right after you log in. In that meeting, everyone will be assigned their tasks on Jira or whatever tool they use. Okay. They should start working on those items or those backlog items post the sprint planning session. They should start working on that on those tasks. So every day after, let's say your 15th June is completed. I mean, in the sprint planning session, everybody was given their own tasks. Everybody was given their task. Everybody started working on their backlog items. Very good. On 16th June till 28th June. I mean, the rest of the sprint, the rest of the 13 days, every day you will be having a meeting for at least half an hour or 1 hour, depending upon the team size. You will have a call every day with your Scrum Master, your product owner, and the entire Scrum team. All these people will be sitting in a call every day for at least half an hour or 1 hour, depending upon the team size. Why? Every day you should provide updates in that meeting. What did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? Update. You are given some tasks in the sprint planning session on 15th June. So on 16th June till 28th June, every day you have something called as a Scrum call or daily stand-up call, whatever you want to call it as. Everybody calls it in a different way. Scrum call or a daily stand-up call, update call, whatever it is, whatever it is. You name anything. The name can be anything, no problem. But every day you will be having a call in a Scrum Agile environment. You'll have a call every day with your Scrum Master, your product owner, along with the entire Scrum team. These 5 people, your Scrum team is 5 people. In this example, your Scrum Master is the 6th person, your product owner is the 7th person. Your manager may also join sometimes. All you guys will have to sit through and provide an update saying that, right, everybody in the entire Scrum team, you have 5 people, right? All the 5 people, you will be called in the meeting, you will be asked, literally you will be asked, okay, person X, what did you do? So you should say, okay, yesterday I started working on this task. I've completed, I've reached till this point, and today I'll continue from this point. That's it. That's it. This is the update you should give. Why should you give an update? What is the necessity? Don't they trust us? Can't they trust us? We'll complete it, no? We'll complete it at the end of 80 hours. Why do we have to every day provide an update for them? Because some tasks may be difficult. You might need more time, or you might not be able to complete in this sprint, or you don't know anything about that particular task. You are new to the project. You might need some training on that particular task. You never know anything, right? So the Scrum Master should track all of these events. The Scrum Master should not blindly believe saying that, okay, they will complete, they will complete, they will complete. What if on 28th June morning, 28th June morning Scrum call, you say, out of the 4 tasks that are given to me, I was able to complete only 2. 2 of the tasks I have not completed. You should not say that on the last day, right? If you have a problem, if you have any misunderstanding, if you have any issues with the backlog items that are assigned to you, you should be flagging it upfront. Should tell them beforehand only, saying that, I don't know about this task. If you can provide me training, I'll try to fix this. Or you started working on something. It's taking a lot of time. Maybe there are some technical issues, server issues, or maybe some application related issues. So you should tell the Scrum Master and the product owner in the mail, or even in the daily Scrum call, saying that, I'm facing this issue. So unless this issue is resolved, I can't really work on this. So what they'll do, either they will remove this from the sprint scope, either they will remove this particular task and add new task, or relax. The task will be ignored for this particular sprint and it will be added to the next upcoming sprints, whatever it is, so that they can plan the sprint appropriately. If there is no proper planning, if you're not given tasks every sprint, if your tasks are not completed promptly every sprint, these tasks will pile up. So imagine this particular sprint, you had 25 backlog items. If you're not able, and next sprint also, in sprint 2 also, they are planning 30 items. In sprint 2, they are planning 30 items. If in this sprint, you are able to complete only 23, how many will you have in the next sprint? How many will you have in the next sprint? 32, right? You wanted to work, you wanted to complete 25 items, but you were able to complete only 23. So 2 are pending here. 2 are pending here. So already planned for 30 items, 30 backlog items in the next sprint. So these 2 should be accommodated here. So either you remove 2 from the existing 30, or you add these 2 to the 30. Either you do 30 by removing 2 from the existing 30. So you should plan only for a 28 plus 2, 28 plus 2, or 30 plus 2, whatever it is. So if these tasks keep on piling up every time, at the end of each sprint, if you're not working properly, if you're not flagging your issues properly, you're not updating properly in your daily Scrum call, don't you think these pending backlog items will keep on piling up each sprint? At the end of each sprint, if you're not able to complete your target, each sprint you will be having pending backlog items. So these pending backlog items will keep on piling up. So you are either the Scrum Master did not plan this sprint properly, either he is giving you more work, or you are not working properly. Only 2 possibilities here. Either the Scrum Master is asking you to work more than what you can. In 80 hours, you can work only for certain number of tasks. But either the Scrum Master is giving you too much of work, or the Scrum Master is not good. You're not working properly. The particular Scrum team is not working properly, or the Scrum Master and the product owner are giving you too much of work. Only 2 possibilities, nothing else. So that is why, to have an efficient way of planning your Scrum, and your sprint, every day you will have a scrum call. In the scrum call, you should flag your issues. You should give your updates, whatever updates you have. You're able to work on something, tell them that you are working on it. If you're not able to work on something, tell why you're not able to work on it. So they'll suggest an alternative, try to help you out with that so that this particular pending backlog items will not be there at the end of this sprint. That is the main motive of your entire scrum call every day. So understood what scrum call is now and your sprint planning. Did you guys understand it thoroughly? All right. So the next thing that you have in your scrum is the next thing that you have, just like how you have your sprint planning, something called as sprint retrospective. Just like your sprint planning, you have sprint retrospective. So what is the meaning of retrospective is recollecting whatever that has happened. Retrospective, the meaning of retrospective is recollecting whatever that has happened previously. So what do you do in your sprint retrospective is, after every alternate sprint or at least every month, your scrum master will be scheduling a sprint retrospective meeting, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever it is, during Friday evening. Nobody has any work, nobody is in a mood to do any work. Every Friday evening, somewhere around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, nobody is interested in doing any work. Everybody has started to be in the weekend mode. So that's when your scrum master, to spoil your weekend, he will set up a sprint retrospective call, unnecessary waste call. What happens in that call? This sprint retrospective call happens every alternate sprint or every month, whatever the schedule you are following in your project. What is the purpose of this sprint retrospective call? Nothing, time waste. What happens in that sprint retrospective call? You will have to discuss with your scrum master. Your product owner will not be there. Your client might not be there always. To be honest, it is not for the client. It is not for the client. The client will not be there. It's only the employees of the software company. That's it. Your scrum master and the scrum team and your manager most of the times. Your product owner will be missing. He will not be there in the sprint retrospective call. So of course, it's not a rule. It's a general working structure. Okay. So what happens in the sprint retrospective call? The scrum master will take each and every one of your scrum team's name and he will ask you, okay, folks, what did you do? I mean, he'll simply highlight your work, saying that, you are given these many number of backlog items in the previous last 1 or 2 sprints. You're able to complete these many. You have these many pending tasks. So he'll simply ask you, what went good in the previous sprints? What went bad in the previous sprints? It's sort of a feedback session. So what can we do to improve the sprint performance? Something like that. So if you are able to complete all your sprint related tasks, it's all right. If you're not able to complete, so then he'll try to understand what is wrong. If you're not able to complete your backlog items in time in your sprint, he'll try to understand what's wrong with your sprint planning. Either he is giving more work to you or you are not working up to the mark, whatever it is. Because if you are not able to complete a backlog item, it is a very big issue. There should be a valid reason for you to not complete that particular task. If there is a valid reason, then that is fine. The application might be having bugs, so you're not able to test that particular functionality. So fine, no problem. Unless the bug is fixed, you'll not be able to test it. All right. But again, if everything was fine and you're not able to complete it, you're not flagging it upfront, and all of a sudden at the end of the sprint, you are flagging it, then that will become a problem. And in the sprint retrospective session, this will be considered very seriously also. So the sprint retrospective session it's a meeting where your scrum team, your manager and your scrum master will be present to understand what went good, what went bad in your previous sprints, so that it can be improved in the upcoming sprints. Not just your performance, even the scrum master's performance will also be evaluated. Is he giving you more work? Are you able to find work-life balance? All of this stuff will be discussed. It's more like non-technical discussion, but again, depends from project to project. It's not, okay, why were you not able to fix this Jira? What is the reason? Why was your code not working? Maybe this will not be the kind of discussion all the time. It's like a feedback session, a therapy session sort of thing, where you'll be discussing all your problems in the sprint. You're not getting help from the client. Okay, maybe you can flag it. If you have any issues in the project, you can flag it. That's how that's how the sprint retrospective call works. Okay, So maybe it's not the rule, but the retrospective is basically to understand about the previous sprints, what happened in the previous sprints, and to fix anything that is happening that is wrong in your sprint. That is what is your sprint retrospective meeting is for. Okay. Next. You learn about user story, task, story point, all of these when we start our Jira. You learn about all of these when we start our Jira. So don't worry about it. You learn all of these. Maybe tomorrow, we can start our Jira tomorrow. So the important thing is I need you guys to get access to Google Classroom. First and foremost, I need you guys to get access to Google Classroom. So if you still did not get access to Google Classroom, please make sure you get access as quickly as possible. All right, because it gets a little difficult for me also to share anything with you. I want to share the notes. I want to share the software URLs. You need to install and download and install some softwares on your machine. So if I want to give all those tasks for you, I need to share it on a proper forum. So Google Classroom is the perfect place where I can store all, share all of this with you. So better ask for your Google Classroom access as quickly as possible. Okay. Zoom का क्या करोगे भाई? Zoom का क्या करोगे? Zoom का access लेके क्या ही करोगे आप? Zoom का क्या ही करोगे आप? We are not present on Zoom, right? We are taking our class only on Zoom. So there are 52 students currently in the Google Classroom. So I have roughly 60 people in the session. Excluding me and the Naresh IT admin, I have around 60 people in the session. So maybe roughly some 10 more people. Need to get access. So just check with them once. Okay. Just check with them once. Sangeeta, I mean, it would be better if you check with the admin team, because I was not given any go ahead from the admin team. So again, we wouldn't want to get into all of that stuff. So please just check with the admin team once, because you are also present in the previous batch. Unfortunately, due to some issue, you are not able to continue the classes. So since you are continuing now, you can use the previous Google Classroom also. No problem. All those details are already present. You must have already installed all those softwares. You must have already created those logins. You must already have all of that stuff with you. So don't worry about that. You already have everything with you. All you need to do is just do it along with me. That's it. You have everything installed, everything created on your machine. So don't worry. So the rest of you, yes, Ankita, yes, I did. In your classwork section, you can see the manual testing notes here. But again, this is not the entire manual testing notes, as I already told you. So if you guys can get your Google Classroom access as quickly as possible, tomorrow, I'll try to help you guys with the Jira account creation. We will look into the Jira account creation as well as GitHub account creation tomorrow. So, okay, please get yourself added to Google Classroom as quickly as possible. And tomorrow, if possible, please join from your laptop or a desktop. If anyone is joining from your mobiles, please refrain. Please not do it, because you'll not be able to listen to the class and do it along with us. So maybe since today we have covered our Jira, our Agile, I would like to start Jira simultaneously tomorrow. So of course, I need to cover a few more concepts in testing. So maybe it will take 1 or 2 more days, because I need to cover your test life cycle as well as bug life cycle. No, it's not completed. Manual testing is not yet completed. There is a lot more to do in your manual testing. I need to cover your test life cycle as well as your bug life cycle to start even with the Jira. So I'll try. I mean, we can cover all of this in the meantime also, no problem. So what I'll do is I'll try to cover your software test life cycle STLC and your bug life cycle in tomorrow's session. If we are able to complete these tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, somewhere around, today is Tuesday, so Thursday, we'll try for Jira account creation. And Jira account creation and GitHub account creation, we'll do it everything at once. So I'll also give you the list of softwares that you need to download. So I'll be posting the details of software download and installation in the Google Classroom today. So whoever has access, please do it. And this is where you will have those details in classwork section. In classwork section, you will have those details. You can check it here. Whatever classwork or notes or links, documents, whatever it is, they will be present in the classwork section. Okay, any updates regarding the class? If the class is not there, if the link has changed, or if I'm not feeling well, I'm sick, I can't attend the class. So all those details will be uploaded in the stream section. I'll be sending some announcement here. I'll be posting some announcement. Okay, so please watch this section. Please monitor this section thoroughly. Of course, if I do anything, if I post anything, you will be getting all those to your email address also. Whatever email you have given here, to that particular email, you will be getting an email also. If I update anything, if I post anything, you'll immediately get a email notification. So you'll not be missing out on anything whatsoever. What is the difference between PO and BA? PO is your product owner. He has the knowledge of the entire product and project life cycle. He'll be the person who will be giving you the requirements for creating the backlog items. Your entire sprint will be managed by your product owner. Okay, he will tell you what to do in each sprint. Whereas your BA, he might not be the person who will coordinate the entire sprint. He's not the person who coordinates the entire sprint. He's the person who, I mean, these days, even the definitions have become so vague that even your BAs are also doing product owners work also sometimes. So these days, it's like, it is no longer agreed. It's the motto is like jack of all trades, master of none. That works, that suits perfectly these days in corporate environment. So you are expected to know everything, but even if you're not a master in it, that's all right. So you can even see BAs doing the work of PO, your product owner or project manager also sometimes. So the definitions are very vague, even though the definitions give a very clear differentiation between your BA and PO. Sometimes you'll find them doing the same work. So depends, but ultimately your business analyst will gather the requirements, pass on the requirements of the client. So he's the person who is there between your client and the development team, client and the testing team. So whatever requirements are there, those will be collected by your BA. So requirement gathering is not a one-time activity, not a two-time activity, 1 month or 6 month activity. It goes on and on in an agile environment. What is PI planning? I did not understand. I did not understand. What is PI planning? I did not say anything about PI planning. Yeah, the interviewer will ask you about Scrum activities. What are your Scrum activities? What will you do in a Scrum? Tell me. What activities do you do in a Scrum? Come on, tell me. Okay, sprint planning. Very good. Cool. Next. Next. What else will you do? See, this is not how you should explain. So there is something called as sprint ceremonies or sprint activities. So what do you do in a sprint? What do you have? Or let's say sometimes they will also ask you like this, not just a sprint ceremony. Sometimes they'll call something like Scrum ceremony also. Ceremony means what is a ceremony? Some activity that you are doing there, some activity or some action that you are performing. That is a ceremony. So what are Scrum ceremonies, or what are your Scrum Agile ceremonies, or what are your sprint ceremonies? This is what they will ask you. What activities do you do in Scrum Agile? First is your sprint planning. Next is your daily Scrum calls, sprint retrospective meeting. Okay, completing your backlog items. All right. So these are all your sprint ceremonies. So you can list it out in the interview also. So the key thing here is not explaining your stuff. You might be very well thorough with your stuff, very well thorough with your concepts, but that's not the point here. The point is how well are you using the terminology, the jargon here. Okay. Instead of sprint, if you are saying iteration, that's that's not the term that you use in Agile. That's not the term that you use in Scrum. You should say sprint. That's it. You should not say iteration, or you should not say something else. The interviewer is expecting you to use that terminology correctly. Okay, so better use that terminology when your interviewer asks you. You can explain it well. That I'm confident, because looking at your answers, you guys are understanding this pretty much well. You're able to retain it also well. But the important thing is not retaining, but also using those jargon, that terms, the terminology is important. That's what differentiates you and the other candidate in your interview. Okay, so better remember the terms that are used in your manual testing very thoroughly, especially in your Agile. What are the different terms that we have learned? Sprint planning, sprint retrospective, backlog, scrum master. Who's a scrum master? The scrum master is the person who plans the entire schedule of your project. He coordinates the interaction between your scrum team as well as your product owner. Okay, next you have a product owner. He knows the entire life cycle of the entire product, entire application. Okay, he assigns the backlog items. He creates the backlog items and assigns it to the scrum team. Next, you have the scrum team. Scrum team is nothing but your entire team, be it testing or development. Okay, what other terms did you learn? That's it. Scrum, Agile, you already learned it. That's it. So these are the terms you will learn in your manual testing. In your manual testing, understanding the notes or mugging up the answers is not important. It is important to indicate or emphasize on those terms whenever it is necessary, whenever it is required. So in your interview, it is very important that you use these terms while you are answering your interviewer. Even though you are giving the correct answer, your interviewer will be impressed only if you use the correct terms. So better have a practice using these terms. All right. So I'll upload the updated notes. Hold on. By tomorrow morning, I'll be uploading it. It's been a very long day for me also. Since 6:30 in the morning, it has been a very long day. So just give me some time. I'll update the notes now, and you can look at it in the morning tomorrow. You have till 9 p.m. 9 p.m. night tomorrow. So don't worry, you'll get the revised notes to by morning. When you open your Google Classroom, you'll see the revised notes there. Don't worry. You'll also see the list of softwares that you need to download. I'll be giving slight instructions for you also there. So just take a look at it and download, and if possible, you can continue with the installation. Also, the installations are not any different. Okay, the installation is not any different. Just next. Okay, yes. That's it. Or combination of these buttons, nothing else. At the end, click on finish. Okay, that's it. Your installation does not contain anything different. If there is any different kind of installation, I'll tell you. I'll give you in the notes itself. Don't worry. Just install them, download them whenever possible, and install them on your, if you are using a desktop, install it on a desktop. If you are using a laptop, install it on a laptop. But if you are using mobile, maybe it's not possible to install mobile. I cannot guarantee you that. All right. So I'll upload the notes, updated notes shortly. So just give me some time. Once we create our GitHub, I'll be giving you the entire notes at once only. I'll not be giving the notes in phases. Here, I'm not able to update or upload the entire document. So let's not worry about it now. I'll give the entire notes to you at once your GitHub accounts are created. All right. So I hope you guys have no queries today. Or do you have any queries or any doubts, any confusion? I'm stopping the recording here.